will remain standing until we get to the appropriate point.
Good afternoon. I'm Virginia Vaughn. I'm president of our local chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. I'm a member of the English department at Clark. I'd like to introduce to you the faculty participating in this ceremony. This is John Kennison, who is our secretary treasurer. He's from the math department. This is Dean Doug Little, who is dean of the college and sometimes from the history department. And your guide is Wendy Grolnick from the psychology department. You can see that the liberal arts are represented in the officers of our local chapter of Phi Beta Kappa. So I welcome you all today. Receiving into the membership of our society certain persons who, having been duly elected by this chapter, desire to be admitted to its privileges and opportunities. To you who have been elected to membership in accordance with the rules of this chapter and in consequence of our good opinion of your intellectual and moral character, supported by your record of high attainment in the university, you have been selected as worthy of becoming members of Phi Beta Kappa. Your names have been submitted to the scrutiny of the constitutional electors of the chapter and have met with their approval. You have been formally notified of your election, and by your presence here, you signify your desire to be enrolled as members of this ancient and honorable society. By the rules of this chapter, each initiate must personally pledge allegiance to the society and sign the roll book. I'm instructed to administer the following promise. Do you solemnly promise that you will be true and faithful to this society, that you will obey the laws thereof, and that in the election of members you will have paramount regard for moral character and scholarly attainment? Please say, I will. As the secretary, Mr. Kennison, calls the roll, the new members will sign the register and receive their certificates and keys.
David William Azar. Michael Day. William Gordon Potter. Roy Emil Amel. Rachel Ann Stanley. Ilyan Ivanov Tinkoff. Heather Ann Sensibar. Eric Matthew Shirtleff. Mr. Little will now give a brief history of the society.
On December 5th, 1776, a group of young men, students of the College of William and Mary in Virginia, meeting in the Apollo Room of the Raleigh Tavern in Williamsburg, formed the Phi Beta Kappa Society, which they dedicated to high purposes with 18th century eloquence. In the Phi Beta Kappa Handbook, you will find a brief account of the early days of the society in Virginia and of the fortunate establishment at Yale in 1780 and Harvard in 1781 of New England branch that began during the 1840s, fueled by the Society's wise decision to extend membership to women in 1875. But I didn't know if that would get a laugh or not. By 1900, it was a very wise decision. By 1900, there were 25 chapters with 14,000 members. The rapid growth of higher education during the 20th century led to the establishment of dozens of Phi Beta Kappa chapters, including Clark's own, the Lambda of Massachusetts, in 1953. A national body, the Phi Beta Kappa Society, was set up more than a century ago to ensure greater unity and uniformity of practices across.
It is now my job to read the charge to our new members. I shall conclude in the words of the ritual of 1779. You all at this moment experience in yourselves the heartfelt satisfaction which I do at this, our valuable acquisition. Friendship herself, pleased with her success, now smiles at this addition to our society. Let it be our joint care to extend the friendship which has been exercised by this society to these new members, that they may hereafter become veterans in her service. Thank you. By election of the chapter and by your assent to its pledge and the placing of your signatures in its book, the Society's requirements for initiation are fully satisfied. I therefore, in the presence of these members of the Society, declare you members of the Lambda chapter of Phi Beta Kappa in the state of Massachusetts, authorized to wear its key as a badge and to participate in its meetings. It is now my pleasure to welcome you as members of the chapter, giving each of you in turn the ancient grip of the Society, as soon as John Kennison reminds me how to do it.
Ceremony is now concluded, and you are all invited to a reception downstairs, one flight of Jefferson 200.
Side by side there with the black silhouette in the tree. It's nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, go ahead, guys. Where's Mary? There she is.
Not a lot, just a minute of it.
No, you don't look right there. Get on the other side, Steve. Yeah, that's better. That's much better. Nice. Smile, guys.
introduce to you the distinguished individuals who are seated on this stage. Starting at my right are Dr. John Bassett, President of Clark University. Dr. Amartya Sen, Master of Trinity College, Cambridge, United Kingdom, and Lamont University Professor Emeritus at Harvard University. Dr. Gerald Graff, Henry E. Sidurus, Professor of the History of Medicine, Emeritus at Rutgers University. Dr. John Hogan, Teresa and John Hines, Professor of Environmental Policy and Director of the Program on Science, Technology, and Public Policy at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, and Professor of Science and Policy in the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences at Harvard University.
Distinguished guests, graduates, family members, friends, faculty, colleagues. We gather here today in honors convocation to recognize excellence in academic achievement. This ceremony is an important opportunity for the university to make public its values, its expectations, its aspirations. Here, we celebrate the excellence of students who are rightly called scholars. They are the finest expression of Clark University's commitment to pursuing new knowledge and to striving for the highest levels of intellectual and creative achievement. Those being recognized today should know that all of us, your professors, your families, your friends, are very proud of you. It takes courage, integrity, and will to test yourself in an intellectual environment in which there are powerfully competing ideas. The strength and persuasiveness of one's ideas derive in large part from a willingness to be vulnerable, from a willingness to test those ideas and to subject them to the criticism of other people. It is not an exercise for the intellectually timid. So to be recognized for accomplishments in rigorous scholarly discourse is indeed an achievement in which all of you...
National Honor Society for Academic Excellence in the Arts. In a separate ceremony held yesterday, new members were officially inducted into Clark's Phi Beta Kappa chapter. But it seems appropriate to take a few moments here today to recognize these outstanding students by asking the graduating seniors to stand as their names are read. Please hold your applause until all the names have been called. Nathan S. Agram. Roe Amiel Aram. Megan Andrea Albert. Jana Z. Altazova. Jane L. Androsky. David W. Azar. Omar Benjaloon. Victoria Louise Byfield. Claire Lorraine Cady. Cara M. Caesar. Nicole Marie Capetta. Jeremy Cedric Child. Matthew R. D. April. Analia B. Delcheva. Michael Day. David Francis Dorr Jr. Nicole Claire Flynn. David E. Gluckman. Sarah Christine Haig. Dory S. Hecht. Elda Calciu. Robin Lou Long. Leah Ruth Penman. William G. Potter. Brian Sanders Raj. James Prescott Salo. Rachel A. Scanlon. Heather A. Sensabaugh. Josephine A. Shagward. Eric Matthew Sherman. Emily J. Truthis. Anne McEachran Slack. Victoria Sugarova. Devin Thomasewicz. Molly Thompson. Ilian Ivanov-Tinkoff. Adrian Max Uretsky. Kate Elizabeth Vanderzee. Amanda Barrett Whitman. And Mari Uasa. How about a nice round of applause? Several academic departments at Clark have chapters of national National Honor Societies in their disciplines, and we're delighted to recognize the seniors who've been elected to membership. Clark University chapter of Omicron Delta Epsilon, the National Economics Honor Society Day, Laureate. The Clark chapter of the National Management Honor Society, Beta Gamma Sigma, members of the senior class who have consistently distinguished themselves in scholarship and citizenship. This year's I now invite to the stage Amanda Whitman, William Potter, Morgan Blum, and Kenneth St. Ange. The Sally Robinson Holthausen Prize recognizes outstanding scholarship in the study of international relations. This year, the prize is awarded to Mandy Whitman. The Wilner Prize was established by Irving Wilner, class of 1932, to honor a student who has produced an outstanding research paper on a topic of practical significance for the improvement of American political institutions. This year's winner is William Potter. The H. Donaldson Jordan History Essay Award was created by the family and friends of H. Donaldson Jordan, a revered member of the Clark History Department for nearly 40 years, who took special delight in helping students develop their potential as historical researchers. This year there are two winners of the Jordan Prize, and they are Kenneth St. Ange and Morgan Blum.
15 years ago, the Clark Alumni Association instituted a very different kind of award, one that recognizes outstanding seconds in many different fields. This concludes our ceremonies this morning. You should all know that brunch is available in the Higgins University Center until 12:30. Commencement will be held on the green. As I've told a number of you, I was responsible for weather on Friday and Sunday. Whoever was responsible yesterday has been fired already. The procession will begin at 1:15, and graduating seniors should proceed to the Miller Athletic Center for roving at 12:30. Please remain in your seats until the platform party has left the auditorium, and have a great afternoon. These ceremonies are now concluded.
Sound movies, you can say something.